Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. Ms. Gilligan, we wish you well. Sorry I haven't had the opportunity to get to know you, but your reputation precedes you in the work that you've done for this nation, so thank you. The FAA's Organization Designation Authorization Program appears really to be critical to allowing the agency to keep up with its certification process. In fact, industry is calling on you to expand it, but can you speak more to the funding issues that plague the agency and how those issues hinder your labor force and prevent you from expanding the ODA program?
Yes, sir, and I'll ask Ms. Baker to supplement it as well. Actually, the delegation program allows us to be more effective with the resources that we are provided, because we can take advantage of the technical expertise within a company to work on our behalf and to make those kinds of safety findings. But Dorinda, perhaps you'd like to speak about staffing.
Yes, as Peggy said, it's very important for us to use the opportunities like the organization designation authorization, because it does leverage us. We have about 700 engineers, whereas Boeing has approximately 900 UMs, or people that are working on our behalf. So this is something that's really important, and it does help us to utilize the resources that we do have efficiently and effectively.
Thank you. You know, to the panel, but based on testimony by Dr. Epstein, you know, is the industry open, you know, to additional user fees that would give the FAA more budgetary cushion to expand its labor force to meet the increasing demands of the certification process?
This is the most cost-conscious of industries, since we're so highly competitive. So we certainly have to examine what the impact would have on the competitiveness of products and exports as to what that fee schedule might be.
Okay. And Mr. Hamilton, we all understand Boeing's global reach, and I'd like to know your experience in dealing with the EASA and how it compares to your experiences with the FAA, particularly in the certification process. Where do they have that we need, and vice versa?
Thank you. EASA, EASA, is the European equivalent of the FAA, and they're a newer organization that just really came about a little over a decade ago to cover one European regulatory. Because they're newer, they, I'll say, are starting from a position of trying to be more efficient, more nimble. They're a much smaller organization than the FAA. And as we've talked here today, when you have critical resources, it's how do you use those resources most effectively. We find that EASA has a delegation authorization with the manufacturers over in Europe that takes it to a, I'll say, a further extent beyond today's ODA that we have over in the U.S. With it, again, comes certain requirements for oversight, but it tends to be a little bit more efficient in terms of working with them. I think from a rulemaking, the FAA has done a lot over the years to harmonize on rules. I think really it gets down to, and we talked on it earlier, was about interpretations of those rules, where there can be different interpretations of how the same rule is applied, and that's kind of an ongoing effort that we have to work through.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Mr. Westerman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the